Sanje Joda Soge Chonamla, Chanjo Bardo, Dani Japsuch, Nage Jinso Gebe Sonamge, Dola Venture Sanje Dubaresho. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha. Om Do Prabhavam Hetum Tesham Datha Gato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Svaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation causes as well as taught by the great seer. Profound, peacefully, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such is the nectar light Dharma I have discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I'll return to the words. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is a professional wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. Is original apprehension of self-realized wisdom, to you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times of your obeisance. All composite things are impermanent, all contaminated things are the nature of suffering, all phenomena are the nature of emptiness and selflessness, transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drummer of Dharma, you liberate all beings from miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, for all bewildered miseries gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Okay, page 6, the verse which we read right now, which read, profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light, non-composite. Such is the nectar Dharma I have discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I'll return to the woods. Prince Siddhartha, 2,500 years ago, it was 4th century AD. Of course, the Prince Siddhartha was 5,000 years ago, no, 2,500 years ago. And in 4th century, there was a great Indian master, respected as the father of the Buddhist logic. A great master and also a solitary retreatant who have been meditating after all these incredible learnings. His name is Acharya Dignaga. And Acharya Dignaga, he wrote one text on logic and epistemology, referred to as the Pramana Samuchaya, compendium of valid cognition. Pramana Samuchaya. This text was what he wrote, and in those days, all these great masters with the brilliant a great genius in the intellectual rigor. At the same time, financially, they were poor, and he was a solitary mendicant. And he was intending to write this book on logic and epistemology. And he wrote one verse as a word of salutation to the Buddha before he composed the actual body of the text. Composed it, and in those days wrote on a slate and kept it outside his hermitage, and he left for alms round. Coming back, he noticed that what was written on the slate was erased. And he did it 3 times erased. And the 4th time, he did not write the word of salutation. He wrote something else. He wrote that, whosoever erased my work, if you erased it out of fun, this is not a fun. This is very important work. Please don't erase this. If you erase it because you disagree with me, when you disagree with what I wrote here, show up in person. He wrote it and left for alms round. Coming back, a man was waiting there. And then in those days, when 2 men met for such reasons, what to do? Debate. And it was a good tradition in those days. Debate, and then the bet is very clear. Whoever lost the debate will be converted to the other faith, other tradition. That was the bet in those days. And if you have, say, in those cases, sometimes some teachers have like 500 students. When the teacher lost a debate, the teacher along with all the students should be converted to the other tradition. This was the bet in those days. So, 2 of them started to have the debate. And then who can compete with the logician who was going to compose a book, a classical, the seminal work on logic and epistemology. And of course, the other person was defeated, lost the debate. And sometimes the people are a little mischievous, naughty. They don't stick to the bet. So what he did was that this other person happened to have some miracle power. And he started to, through his miracle power, send fire from his mouth towards Acharya Dignaga. And Acharya Dignaga's robe was burned. And Acharya Dignaga felt so sad that every day I'm cultivating my wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all dear Mother Sentient beings. If I cannot help even one person who is right next to me, how can I benefit all the beings? He felt so demoralized. And then he threw the slate up in the sky. The moment the slate falls, he was to just quit his working for others. And the slate never fell. He looked up in the sky, and Arya Manjushri was holding the slate. The Buddha of the wisdom was holding the slate in space. Then he advised Acharya Dignaga, my child, why do you feel demoralized? Continue your work to write. And what you write will become like the eyes for millions of people in the future to see the reality. This was the prophecy made. He wrote. So the word of salutation, which made the 2 of them to debate, is I'll put it here, page 5, the 2nd verse, which reads, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, protector, to your administrations. This is so in fact there are 4 lines. In Tibetan, Semar Gyurba Dola Pensheba, Tumba the Shigula Chazin, talking into Dola, let's say with Semar Gyurba, Susan Shibacha. This is the Tibetan verse. So basically 4 lines. The next two, the last 2 lines are his promise of the composition of the text, the word of the promise to compose the text. And the first 2 lines, these are the 2 lines, the 2 lines, and then 100 years later, another great logician came, and his name is Acharya Dharmakirti, whose name I mentioned yesterday. Acharya Dharmakirti, and who wrote the Pramana, who wrote like the 7 seminal works, who composed 7 of those texts, extremely important works on logic, epistemology, and the primary which is known as Pramanavartika. The main one is known as Pramanavartika, commentary on the valid cognition. And so there, the Pramanavartika has 4 chapters. And the second one is primarily on. Second one has about like 283 verses. 283 verses to explain these 2 lines. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, that motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector to him Christus. These 2 lines, just to explain this, he composed 283 verses. And for us, if you read these 283 verses, most likely you will not understand anything. You require another 2 volumes. So just to understand these 2 lines, we need to go through all these huge volumes of, I say, the intellectual exercises. So profound. Okay, so what are these 2 lines? These 2 lines, 2013, one early morning, I received His Holiness the Dalai Lama was in Delhi. And one early morning, I received a call from His Holiness's secretary saying that His Holiness wants you here right now. It was, I think, about like 8 o'clock in the morning. So the office car comes at like 9:30. And then, yes, of course, yes. Then I do. In those days, Uber, Ola, all non-existent. And I rushed to look for a taxi. I got a taxi and rushed to the hotel. And His Holiness gave lengthy instructions on how to run Tibet House, and also on personal practices. And particularly, His Holiness cited these 2 lines in Tibetan. These 2 lines. He cited that. And he said that if you can design one's practice on the basis of Bodhicitta, then these 2 lines by Chardinaga. And this is what His Holiness always, not just only to me, but even in public addresses, His Holiness encourages people to, reflect on the meanings of these 2 lines. So these 2 lines I'm going to quickly explain here before we go to emptiness. So what we're talking about is that we are seeking the infinite happiness, the fearlessness and the infinite happiness. We begin from there. This is our goal. And it doesn't matter. Goal and the means. We should not mix the 2 things. The goal and the means. And some people, they are so attached to the means that they forget the goals. For example, it is like, the analogy would be like, we want to cross the river and we depend on the boat. And the boat is not a means. Boat is not the goal. The boat is the means to cross the river. And sometimes we are so latched onto the means, to the boat, that if you cross the river, still you carry the boat with you. What's the point? Once you cross the river, the boat is a burden for you. So therefore, to make distinction between the means and the goals, this is very important. And the goal, we should not forget, goal is to attain fearlessness and infinite happiness. And the means can be anything. For example, say like just by studying chemistry all the time. If if you become fearless and if you experience infinite happiness, then the study of chemistry is your means. But from what we're learning today, what we learned yesterday, from what we're going to learn the next few days, we come to learn that without the experience of emptiness, we cannot wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Without waking up from the sleep of ignorance, you are bound to be tortured by the dream. And the dream, we have no choice what dream to choose. So with this, the means, what is the means and what is the goal? We should not forget the goal. And the means, you can adopt anything as long as the means has the capacity to give rise to the goals. So with this in mind, going back to these two lines, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, protector, to emulate frustrations, said by Acharya Dignaga. Acharya Dignaga in 4th, 5th century AD, most likely 5th century AD. So he wrote this, and what made him write this? It says, the teacher, Sugan, protector, to you I'm replaced. Who is that you? This question. So that you is the one who happened 2,500 years ago, Prince Siddhartha. If you look at his biography, let's not take him as a Buddha, awakened one, as a Prince Siddhartha. Somebody as a prince, young prince, gifted with intelligence and so compassionate. And of course, even at that age, he was just as young as age 6, 7, 8. His cousin, who shot an arrow to a bird, and the bird fell. And Prince Siddhartha, this young boy, he was nursing this bird, removing the arrow, nursing the bird. And the cousin came to claim the bird, said that this bird is mine, I shot it. And this young boy, Prince Siddhartha, he replied that the bird belongs to somebody who protects him, not somebody who destroys him. And I'm protecting him. You are destroying this bird. You don't have the right for this bird. So this is his compassion. And he was there, of course, in almost all, I wouldn't say all, but most likely most of them in the kingdoms, abuses are happening. Abuses, particularly, I don't know which is worse, today or in the past. In the past, no doubt, abuse happens in the kingdoms. Even when they say in a rich family, where in those days the helpers were kept, the servants, abuse all happening everywhere. And he was there, this young prince was there to stand against abuse, against his own cousins, saying that this, you are a royal, doesn't mean that you have the right to abuse the people there. And he could see all the abuses, injustices, and he could not stand this. It's all of compassion. And of course, brilliant in intelligence. He learned all the arts and sciences. So, he was looking for a solution. So this young prince, he thought that, look at this world. In this small palace, look, so many abuses happening. So many cases of abuse happening. And look at outside, so much wars happening. People are suffering hunger, thirst, sickness, disease, illness, and the wars among the kingdoms. Where is peace? Where is happiness? Everybody strives for happiness. Everybody strives for fearlessness. Yet where is fearlessness? Where is happiness? So me becoming king, like my father, what can I do to solve this problem? Now I must look for an alternative way. This is not the solution. To become a king is not the solution. So I must look for a way by which to be the solution to all the problems, provided the people are ready. So from my side, I should be ready to benefit all the way. So he left the palace. So what made him to leave the palace was the one who has transformed into reliability, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. This is the motivation. He left the palace. What did he do? So just imagine, if you are the one who left the palace to look for a solution, what will you do then? Anyone? Oh, yes. Naturally, you will seek guidance. Seek guidance. Seek guidance so that you know that, and then you teach others. So for that, he went in search of teachers. So the teacher who can teach a path which can actually liberate beings from samsara. Which can actually liberate beings from samsara. So the first teacher that he met was Acharya Alaragalam. Acharya Alaragalam. And what are you going to learn? I'm not too sure how detailed we're going to learn. So with the meditative experience, meditative samadhi, samadhi meaning meditative concentration. For this, there are several levels. We talk about the whole samsara divided into three groups. Desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. So this is the technical part that we have to learn. We have to learn this. We cannot guess. Samsara, whole samsara, is divided into three groups. Desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. Three realms are there. Desire realm is a realm marked by, say, the people's obsession to the sensual desires. Like, what do you hear? Music. What do you see? Beautiful things. What do you smell? Perfume and beautiful, nice smells. And the taste, good taste, food. And body, smooth, tactile, nice. So where the people are marked by, the mind is infatuated towards the sensual objects, sensual desires. That realm is known as desire realm. And we are in the desire realm. Right? So the people, you go to universities, you go to the colleges, you go to schools, people mark the success of somebody on the basis of the wealth, in most cases, on the basis of the power, not on the basis of the spiritual realizations. This indication that we live in the realm of desire realm. Then next is the form realm, and then the formless realm. Form and formless realm, there, and they see the drawbacks, limitations, the weaknesses, the drawbacks of the sensual desires. So instead of going outward, they turn towards inside in the meditation. So those people who go deep into meditation, after seeing the drawbacks and limitations of the flaws of desire, sensual desires, so these people, they go inward into meditation. And purely meditation, more like the single point of meditation. And within that, there are so many kinds of there. So one, achieving which will take you to the form realm. So there, form realm is marked by where the one does not have any manifest pains. So we have so much of manifest pains, right? So for example, the fear of the COVID is so acute, the fear. And then some people, they cannot really stay in the house for 2 years. They want to come out. They're so desperate. They want to come out. They feel so suffocated. So there are always manifest pains are there. Whereas in the form realm, no manifest pain. No manifest pain. Okay. That's the form realm. Then the formless realm. Formless realm is where the meditative samadhi, meditative concentrations, even more sophisticated, they transcend the physical forms. Not only the external desires, but also the physical forms. So they reach the formless level. Within the formless, there are four. Within that, they differ in the subtlety and sophistication of the meditation. The first one is infinite space. Infinite space. Second one is known as infinite consciousness. Third one is known as vacuity. Vacuity, V-A-C-U-I-T-Y, vacuity. And the fourth one is peak of existence, the peak of existence.
Let me repeat it. Infinite space, infinite consciousness, vacuity, and peak of existence. Okay, let me explain each one of them. The first one is infinite space. So the person seeing this physical body, the physical body, and what is made of atoms, electrons, protons, and so forth, and they are seen so gross, so gross. Okay, how many of you had that experience where, say, some people, some interior designers, they have a acute aesthetic sense? Okay, anybody who is into this line, like aesthetics, raise hands? Okay, aesthetics, wonderful. So those with a great aesthetic sense, they are in a problem. They have a deep problem. It's a big disease with the aesthetic sense. You go around, you see problems everywhere. Everywhere there's a problem. Everywhere. Right? There's no aesthetic there. Right? Okay. So, what do you think of me? I have the same disease. It's a big problem for me. Small things can irritate me. Right? Small things. So once I entered the office and the receptionist, there was a girl there, and she was little stiff, and I didn't feel good because she was a little stiff. She should feel relaxed. She shouldn't feel stiff. Then I just pretended as though like I didn't notice her. And then I was just looking around like this. And then she became even more. And then I said, "Are you scared of me?" She said, "Not really." I said, "Why you become stiff?" Then she said, when you're looking like this, you may identify any mistake here and there. And I said, "Who told you that?" And she said that my seniors, they told me to be very precise with everything. And she said, even the posters that you put on the poster board, all the posters must be so meticulously done. Even the pens, the same colors. That's too much. That's not me, but the elders, they exaggerate it. Even the pins, if it's red, it must be red here. It's blue here, it's blue here, right? That's too much. I'm not like that, but of course, it must be meticulous. If I tilted a little bit, I could see it right away. I would tell them, "Don't you see that? You are younger. You are 20 years younger than me. I'm 20 years older than you. But my eyes, the old eyes can see this tilted. You can't see that." And then they said, "No." Then I would say, "Bring a measuring tape." Bring a measuring, and then see, now do you see a difference? 1 mm difference? They say yes. Okay, this is disease. Okay, disease. One time, there was one Italian nun, who was so meticulous, amazing. Then she must be in her 70s. Now she must be in her 80s. And she went to the abbot. The abbot knows her so well. And she has, this problem, stress problem, is not this. Again, she has the disease, same disease. And the abbot, in order to help her, told her that to be too meticulous is also not good. Abbot said, to be too meticulous and to be so perfect is also not good. Then she replied, "But to become a Buddha, you should be so meticulous in the path." And the abbot said, "You are right." Okay, so what I'm saying, I don't know why I digressed. Anyone who can take me back? Infinite space. Oh, infinite space. Thank you. So there, okay, good. I say the point is that the people with the perfectionist and these skills, so they can see mistake everywhere, right? And for those people in the deep samadhi, their mind becomes very subtle. meditative concentration, their mind becomes very subtle, and gradually they start to see, of course, things exist in relative terms. Relative to the space, the physical is so gross. So one point, those people with the very advanced level of samadhi, they could see the physical body is so gross. So gross, the body, so gross. And we would say that, oh, this is a Bollywood star, we just envy. There's nothing to envy, this is just atoms, very gross atoms. There's nothing to be envious. It's all very gross physical bodies. So they transcend the physicality to the space. The meditation is just to meditate on the infinite space, that the whole universe is filled with space. This is what they meditate. And if they succeed in the meditation, then the next birth, they'll take birth in the infinite space, realm of the infinite space, the first formless realm. Then again with this meditation, the space and the mind is subtler. At least the space, with your eyes you can see the composite space, but the mind cannot see that with your eyes. So again, for them, in comparison with the mind, the space is so gross for them. Okay, so this, how things exist only in relative terms, this is extremely important. And because of the deep meditation, they see the mind as more subtle as compared to the space. So they go into meditation on what is known as infinite consciousness. So when they die, then they take birth in the realm of the infinite consciousness, where you see that your mind simply spreads everywhere, all over. And then those who go deeper, they see that even the mind, there's a little problem there. If the mind is even the mind is an object. So your meditative mind is the subject, and what it sees is the mind is the object. Even there's object should not be there, even that is so gross. So they try to delete the object in the mind, in the view of the subject. The object is deleted. So what is next? Vacuity. The object is vacuum. So they drop the mind also. So what is left? Only the consciousness is left. Only the consciousness or the subjective mind is left. Then if to have the mind is also gross, they try to remove the mind, remove this consciousness. But the reality is that you cannot remove your mind. Mind exists eternally. And this word eternally can be a little ambiguous. The mind exists at all times. Therefore, the person cannot remove the mind. But the person can make the mind subtler. So they try to make the mind too subtle, as well, like, so when the person is in this state of what is known as after the vacuity, peak of existence. When you reach that level, you look at this person who is in this experience of peak of existence meditation, you get a feel as though like he is in a deep trance or he is in a deep sleep state. This is what you will see. As though like the person is like a corpse. Because the mind has become so subtle, and how our body remains so vibrant is because of the mind, because of consciousness of the mind. This is how it works. So the point is that his first teacher, Prince Siddhartha, the first teacher that he met, he reached the level of the samadhi, the meditation of the vacuity. So Prince Siddhartha followed him, and he very soon he reached the same level as his teacher. And then this young Prince Siddhartha, he requested for more teachings. And the teacher said that you already reached the ultimate. There's nothing more to learn. This is ultimate. And Prince Siddhartha said that, with great respect to you as my teacher, I came here to look for the solution to solve all the problems of the sentient beings, and still I don't have this solution. I have my own samadhi, but I don't have the capacity to benefit all the beings. So he searched for the second teacher. He met second teacher, Acharya Udreka. He met second teacher. And second teacher reached the highest level of the meditation. Highest level of meditation. That is peak of existence. The meditation, the meditative concentration of the peak of existence. Here is that. Yes, of course, there's a stark difference there. And again, Prince Siddhartha, they sought his help, learned from him, and very soon reached the same level as his teacher. So now beyond this, there's nothing there. So what is beyond this? To attain nirvana. But this teacher did not attain nirvana, and you will learn why. So this teacher reached this, instead of in terms of meditation, here is the subtlest form, that is peak of existence level. And this Prince Siddhartha also reached the same level. Then Prince Siddhartha requested for more teachings. And the teacher was so surprised. You have reached the ultimate. There's no further attainment than this. You have reached the ultimate. So all my teachers, all my students are your students. Guide them. Stay here. And then the Prince Siddhartha left. 6 years of more practice, and then he found the path which, the teaching of which he can help all the beings to be liberated from even the peak of existence. So that made him, so this motivation, the altruism to benefit all the sentient beings, this drove him to look for the path which he is to teach all the sentient beings. That is number 2, teacher. Motivated altruism to benefit all sentient beings, the teacher. The teacher here refers to the path, not his own teacher. The teacher here refers to the path which he is to learn, which he is to acquire and teach the beings in the future to benefit the beings. That is the teacher here. It's not his own teacher. The path which he is to teach the beings, so the beings will be liberated. Okay, so before he is to teach, say for example, the COVID vaccine, before you bring it to the market, what should be done? Anyone? Any idea? Test it. Test it. Trial. It has to go through trials, right? First, it has to be tested, the efficacy, to see the efficacy of this, efficacy of the medicine. Likewise, okay, so now finally I've found a path, teaching which the beings will be liberated, but I first have to test it on myself, the trial. He tested it on himself. And he tested on himself. So this path, the wisdom of emptiness, the deeper and deeper he gets into it, what's the opposite of wisdom of emptiness? Self-grasping ignorance. So self-grasping ignorance, like the iceberg on which all the houses were stacked, built. When the iceberg melts, what happens to all the buildings stacked on the iceberg? Will crumble down. So he was meditating on this path which he discovered, which he was to teach all the sentient beings, but first he had to check the efficacy of that. He meditated on this, the wisdom of emptiness. And as he started to see things all projection by the mind, empty from the object, projection from mind, empty from the object, as he discovered that rationally, experientially, through meditation, then his belief in objective existence slowly dissolved. The belief in objective existence, that is the self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance dissolved. Iceberg of the self-grasping ignorance dissolved. What happens to everything stacked on this? Attachment, anger, jealousy, fear, all what is stacked on this automatically crumbled. All your miseries dissolved. Okay. So that made what? What is after teacher? Hey, Sugata. Sugata meaning the one who has gone to the ultimate bliss. Sugata, one who has gone to the ultimate bliss. Ultimate bliss of freedom from all the fears. all fears dissolve, and he experienced ultimate bliss and ultimate peace. That made him the Sugata. Okay, so with this, he became extremely confident. Now, I've experienced this Sugata through this path which I've discovered, and then he went to give this teaching, share this wisdom to the other beings, to protect the other beings. That makes him the protector. Very good. Okay. So now look at this biography of the Buddha. Just 2 lines, the biography of the Buddha. By the way, if you're interested to, that would be wonderful, to know this philosophy well, and then to appreciate compassion, the unconditional compassion, which is extremely important, and without which, whatever philosophy that you follow, it becomes a dry philosophy. It's just like, a very personal thing, that's it. Whereas philosophy, to inspire you to go for unconditional love towards all the being, is so beautiful. Okay. So, if they say the biography of the Buddha, so this is just like 2 lines, so intellectually condensed into 2 lines of the Buddha's biography. And whereas if you like to see the Buddha's biography in the mundane way, there is what is known as the 54 Buddha episodes. 54 Buddha episodes in the form of television serial. Oh, the producer's name is... This is not... B.G. Modi, yes. B.G. Modi is a producer, and he was initially telecasted by Z Television.
It was there on Netflix, but now it's there on Z5.
Okay, Z5. Thank you. Okay, is from journalism. Yes. Okay, so Z5. Okay.
It's an app.
It's an app, okay. Z5. This is beautiful. It's so well done. It's so well done. You must watch it, and this will, effortlessly, it will help to invoke your compassion, invoke your intelligence, and the wisdom. That's amazing. So well done. I appreciate it. There may be, 1, 2, 3. I would say that maximum 5% factual errors. Maximum 5% factual errors may be there, and that too, we have to double check it. Otherwise, it's so well done. I would say that's amazing. I really appreciate the director, the producer, and whosoever conceived this project. That's amazing. Okay. So, from these 2 lines, we see that the main thesis is that this young Prince Siddhartha, who wanted to save the beings, he eventually transformed into the reliable guide, a guide to lead the beings from the state of suffering to the fearlessness, from the state of unhappiness to the infinite happiness. So he became the reliable guide. And how did he become the reliable guide? Through 4 premises. What's the first? The motivation of altruism to benefit all sentient beings. Then he went in search of the path which is to teach the beings, to liberate the beings. Number 2, the teacher. Then he experimented it on himself to see if it works. The efficacy, he found that is very efficacious. That made him the Sugata, one who has gone to the ultimate bliss of freedom from all fears. So that made him to go to protect the beings by giving teachings, the protector. So the 4 factors are there, 4 premises are there to give us the conviction that he's the guide who is so reliable, who can reliably take us to our desired goal. What is the goal? Fearlessness and infinite happiness. Okay. So from this, I personally, in my daily practice, particularly meditation emptiness, before I do meditation emptiness, I recite these 2 lines. I recite this, and then they say, this is how I should follow. I should be more driven by I should be motivated by others and benefit all sentient beings. Then I should seek the wisdom of emptiness. And then practice it more to see how it is efficacious in your own life. With this, then you don't stay idle. Go to benefit the beings. Go to protect the beings. So this is the inspiration that I take from the Prince Siddhartha. And these two lines composed by the great logician and a master, enlightened being, Acharya Dignaga. Okay, so if this is how you have to reflect on the biography of the Buddha, my question to you is, what do you think is that thing that we have to do now? From reading this biography, tell me. Now, what should we be doing? Yes?
Question things and get closer to it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Question things and get to the from these two lines. Anyone? So from these two lines, so learn how to articulate things. For example, let's say that somebody gives you 10 minutes lecture. From there, you should be able to just pick up a few points and easily understand what the person is talking. You getting it? Rather than listen to all the 10 minutes lecture and finally you cannot summarize. You have to learn how to articulate what other persons say. For example, one of my teachers, Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdul, when he was last in Tibetan house, when we invited him to give teachings to the public in Tibetan house, I think he was already 92. And the people who are attending, like you, attended Tibetan classes, they were there, and after the teaching, question answer session, and people do try to explain, they try to ask a question in the form of explanation like 2 minutes long, and then before you complete, he would say, okay, is this what you mean? He would just paraphrase everything into just 2 lines. And you cannot articulate what you're trying to say. And just by listening to your few lines, you can understand what you mean to say. And you'll be so fascinated, already 92 years. And this is part of the logic that he studies. The logician, incredible logician, a philosopher, psychologist. You'll be fascinated. In few minutes, in few lines, he will figure out what you mean. So therefore, this is the point. So from this, the 2 lines tell me what I said is that in these 2 lines, Acharya Dignaga, he picked up 5 important points of the Prince Siddhartha's life biography. The first one is that he became the reliable guide. That is the final point. How he became a reliable guide is through 4 premises. The first one is the motivation of compassion. Number 2 is the subject which he is to teach the beings. That is the subject that he is to teach. Number 2. Then he experimented if this knowledge of this subject is efficacious. Experimented it, that made him the Sugata. Number 4. With this experience of the Sugatahood, seeing that is very efficacious, then he went to protect the beings by sharing this wisdom that made him a protector. So the first one is the reliable guide, the main thesis. And the 4 premises. Number 1, altruistic compassion. Number 2, the teacher to teach the wisdom of emptiness. Next, Sugata, where all your fears are dissolved and you experience the ultimate bliss of the freedom. Number 4, to protect the beings by sharing this wisdom. So, 1 thesis and 4 premises. This is the summary of the Buddha's biography, this great teacher, Acharya Dignaga, drew. Okay, now tell me, if we are to follow, if we are to look at these from this, if you are to advise somebody, what would you advise that I or that person should be doing right now? Anyone from these 5 points?
Exercise compassion.
Exercise compassion, very good. Anyone else?
Cultivate all 4 of this quality to become Buddha.
Okay, cultivate all form, that these 2, the remaining 2 will take time. Sugata and Prajna will take time, right? So what should we do now? Number 1 is compassion.
Find the balance.
Find the path. Very good. So cultivate compassion, and meanwhile, right, don't remain as a very compassionate person without knowing how what you teach. Like a very compassionate mother, they say the mother says, "Hey, my girl, my son, study well, study well." And sometimes this is what happens to many of the parents. And the child, naughty child, they bring the science book and show it to the mother or to the father. Okay, please teach me. And the father always failed in science in school days. Right? So you have tremendous compassion, but you don't know how to teach. So the mother helps us, father helps us. You're getting it? So the point is that you have to cultivate compassion. Meanwhile, you will also know the path with which to guide others. You're getting it? You have to do these things together. Then these two things you have to do now, and then number 3 and number 4 will come as a product, as a result of these two efforts. You're getting it? Okay. So with this, finally this Prince Siddhartha, say, he experienced the Sugatahood. Experienced Sugatahood, of course, through questioning as he said, through questioning what's the reality, not just taking blindly, not follow blindly, questioning, and then finally he found a path. What is that path? Which we're going to study today, tomorrow, and the next few days. Okay, so then in Bodh Gaya, how many have been to Bodh Gaya? Raise hands. The place where the Bodhi tree under which the Buddha attained, the Prince Siddhartha attained Buddhahood. Raise hands. Okay, good. Under the Bodhi tree, he became enlightened. He experienced the Sugatahood. Then, to our irony, Prince Siddhartha, now revered as the Sugata, revered as the Tathagata. Tathagata meaning the one who has seen the ultimate reality. But he refused to give teachings. He remained in silence. He remained in silence for 49 days without giving any teachings. Okay. So this is irony. And he went in search of the path, solution to help the beings. Now that he found the path, he's not giving teachings. So, the king of gods and goddesses, Indra and Brahma, through their clairvoyance, they could sense that Prince Siddhartha attained Buddhahood on planet Earth, but not giving teachings at all. So two of them, they descended. They made prostrations to Buddha. Indra offered the conch as the symbol, requesting Buddha, please blow the conch. Please blow the conch to produce the sound of the Dharma for the beings. And Brahma offered the wheel, requesting Buddha, this is my symbolic gesture to request you to turn the wheel of the Dharma. And the Buddha uttered this verse. Which page was that? Page 6. Page 6, where the Buddha said, the path that I found is profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light, and non-composite. Such is the natural Dharma I've discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I'll return to the words. This is what the Buddha said. Then Indra and Brahma made more requests to the Buddha, and finally Buddha went from Bodh Gaya, he left for Varanasi. Then started to give the teachings. So, the first teaching, all these teachings are subsumed under what is known as the 3 wheels of the Dharma. 3 wheels of the Dharma. Okay, so in Buddhism, you'll constantly hear what is known as the 3 wheels of the Dharma. The first one, so to know what these 3 wheels of the Dharma are, we need to know 3 things. For each of the 3 wheels, we need to know 3 things. The first is the location, the place where the Dharma wheel was turned, or the first wheel of the teaching was given. The place. Number 2, the target audience. And number three, the subject matter. The place, target audience, and the subject matter. So the first turning wheel of Dharma was done in Varanasi. And the, what's next? Place is Sarnath. What's next? Audience. A target audience. To know the target audience, we need to know what is known as the 4 Buddhist philosophical schools. We need to know the 4 Buddhist philosophical schools. Okay, just if you want to note them down, write it down. The 4 schools. The first one is Vaibhashika. 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 Number 2, Sautrantika. 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 And I see that there are the number of the students from Nalanda Master's Course. Nalanda Master's Course, I don't think. Nalanda Master's Course 2. Is there anybody? 2 here? Nalanda Master's Course 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So those who are doing Nalanda Master's Course 2 from Tibet House, and there must be others also doing from other courses. So those who are well informed, systematically informed, I request you to help the newcomers during the group discussions, right? So in the group discussion, what we try to do is that instead of trying to go through all what you've heard, learned from anywhere in the world, instead of that, first focus on what we learn here. You're getting it? So that you will get something concrete. It doesn't mean that you just ignore, forget what you've learned before from anywhere else. But here, focus on what you've learned here. Once, say, whatever is being discussed or taught in the class, you have done the revision well, then you can bring the questions rather than, say I'm from a mechanical engineer. Let's say I'm not from mechanical engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, then here I talk everything about mechanical engineer. This is not the right time. So we should be sensitive to our time together is very short. So therefore, instead of just bring all your ideas here, what have you learned, So instead of that, what I would suggest is that you come with a solid question. This is my question, and what he taught in class. So there, I have a question here. That's not clear, and this is the question that I get. These two seem to be contradictory, right? So bring this up rather than just vomiting whatever you have learned the last 20 years. You're getting it? So that everybody has 20 years experience to share. 1 week is too short. So therefore, instead of that, try to revise what we did in the class so that 1 week will become very concrete and solid in your mind. And then you can compare, contrast with other things that we learned before. Let's say in your own place, when you come out of the group discussion, okay, this is what we learned from the class, this is what came up in the group discussion, and this is what I learned from somewhere else. These two seem to be the same, these two seem to be different, and that correlation can be done, comparison can be done. And then after the retreat, of course, you have ample of time. You can do all these comparisons. That would be very helpful. Okay. So the 4 schools, Vaibhashika, Sautrantika. Number 2 is Sautrantika, Sautrantika, Sautrantika. Number 3, Chittamatra, Chittattara, Chittamatra, Chittamatra. And finally, Madhyamaka, 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 M-A-K-A, Madhyamaka. Okay, now let me divide Madhyamaka further into two, and I promise not to complicate you more. So Madhyamaka further divided into two. Madhyamaka is further divided into two. So that is very important for us. Otherwise, the Chitamata has many divisions, and even the division of the Madhyamaka also has more divisions, but don't worry about these things. You learn these four, Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Chitamata, Madhyamaka, and Madhyamaka 2, that will be good enough. Madhyamaka 2, the first one is Sava Tantrika Madhyamaka, SVA. SVA, Sva Tantrika, Tantrika, Sva Tantrika Madhyamaka. Madhyamaka is same. Sva Tantrika Madhyamaka. And the number 2 is Prasangika Madhyamaka. Prasangika. Prasangika Madhyamaka. Prasangika Madhyamaka. Okay, so we have to have these on our fingertips. If you learn these on our fingertips, then you will really enjoy the Buddhist philosophy teachings. Otherwise, all this, there are so many divisions. I never heard about these labels. This is not English. Right? Sava Tantrika, what is Sava Tantrika? What is South Tantrika? Right? So you learn these things, it's not difficult. Don't underestimate your potential. Don't underestimate your potential. Some people, they learn 11 languages. I've seen people who know 11 languages, 11, 12, 13 languages. So for us to learn just additional these few words, and you can learn that. Don't underestimate yourself. Okay, so we didn't know the three turnings of the will of Dharma on the basis of these 3 points. What are the 3 points with which to know the 3 turnings will of Dharma? Location, target audience, and the subject matter. Okay. First, the first turning will of Dharma. Location is Varanasi. Varanasi, and more precisely Sarnath. 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 Sarnath in Varanasi. Location. Target audience. Now it's become easy for us. Target audience, the first 2 schools. So even the 4 schools, make sure that you know them with the proper sequence. Don't just alter the sequence. There's a reason. Because the later ones are progressively subtler in the philosophical positions, the later ones. As you from the Vaibhashika to as Madhyamaka, as you go higher, it becomes progressively more subtle in terms of philosophical positions. So, the target audience for the first turning will of Dharma are Vaibhashika and Sautrantika school, the first 2 schools. People who fall in the first 2 schools, they fall under, they are the target audience of the first turning will of Dharma. Okay. Well, subject matter, 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths. Subject matter. And more precisely, the 4 noble truths to be existing truly. 4 noble truths to be existing truly. That is the subject matter of the first turning will of Dharma. Now the second turning will of Dharma. The place, Rajgir. Rajgir. R-A-J-G-I-R. Rajgir. What second? Target audience. Target audience, guess? Not Chidamatra, you cannot guess it. So the last one, Madhyamaka. Madhyamaka is the target audience. The subtlest, the most profound philosophical school of Buddhism, Madhyamaka. And the subject matter is the emptiness of objective existence. Emptiness of objective existence. In other words, the empty of objective existence / that nothing exists objectively. Nothing exists objectively. Okay, this is subject matter. Okay, now the third. Third was the place. The place is Vaishali. 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 The place. And then what's next? Target audience, Chittamatra. Chittamatra. What's next? Subject matter of the third Noble of Dharma. This is a little complicated for this people to pay attention. Are you ready? Okay, did you note, do you just compare the two subject matters of the first turning and the second turn Noble of Dharma? What do you see? Do you see some inconsistency there? Do you see some inconsistency there between the first turn Noble of Dharma, subject matter of the first turn Noble of Dharma and second turn Noble of Dharma? Do you see? Yes, girl there. So, what inconsistency do you see?
That the Four Noble Truths, first he thought that the Four Noble Truths exist truly, and then he says there is no true existence.
Okay, good. So you see that this is exactly the issue brought up. Say the first Noble of Dharma, who are the target audience? Vaibhashika and Sautrantika, right? So two of them, they are very happy. First Noble of Dharma, the Buddha taught that Four Noble Truths and the Four Noble Truths exist truly. They are so happy they left. Then second Noble of Dharma, the most intelligent philosophers, the Buddha taught nothing exists truly. They were so happy they left. Then who's left? The middle person, the average person. Who's the average one? Chittamatra, right? The poor Chittamatra is left there, right? So they're confused. First turning, the Buddha said, Four Noble Truths exist truly. Second turning, the Buddha said, nothing exists truly. So which is the true? Which is true? So they're confused, right? So on their behalf, there's one Bodhisattva, third turn Noble of Dharma. Third turn Noble of Dharma. So actually, the background of the third turn Noble of Dharma was that in Vaishali, it was a huge group of people, particularly where the big bodhisattvas, very advanced, spiritually evolved bodhisattvas were there, like Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, Maitreya, all these great teachers, enlightened beings were there. And then 10 highly accomplished bodhisattvas, they asked 10 different questions to the Buddha. Okay, one bodhisattva, one of them was Bodhisattva Pramad Samudgata. In Tibetan, Tandamyanrapa. In Sanskrit, Pramad Samudgata. Pramad Samudgata. See, this Bodhisattva, seeing the Chittamatra, they're confused. So he stood up on their behalf. He does not require any explanation. He was already the Madhyamika, Prasanga Madhyamika. But feeling sympathy towards the Chittamatra people. So he stood up, made prostrations to the Buddha, and asked this question to the Buddha. Venerable Tathagata, in the first turn of of Dharma, you're taught how this girl said, what is your girl? What's your name? Karen. So like what Karen said, in the first turn of Dharma, that Tathagata taught that the Four Noble Truths exist truly. And second, in the second turn of Dharma, in Rajgir, the Tathagata, Venerable Tathagata said, nothing exists truly. If we are to accept both the teachings at face value, there's an inconsistency there. These two are contradictory. So since that you are the full awakened one, there should be no confusion in you. There must be a reason why you taught these two contradictory teachings. Please explain this. Then the Buddha clarified, Buddha interpreted his own teachings. That interpretation came to be known as the third turning of the Dharma. How many would like to know the interpretation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many are very serious wanted to know the interpretation? Are you sure? Sure? It'll take a little time. Okay? Okay. Okay. So if you want to know this interpretation, it is a little technical. Are you ready for that? Are you ready? Technical? You're not scared? Resents. What? The number of the hands coming up is reduced now. What happened? Karen, you ready? You want to listen? Not listen. You are not scared of the technicalities? Good. Okay. So for this, what we did last time, phenomena classified into? Forgot. Phenomena classified into? 2 or 3. Some people say 3, some people say 2. What is this? 2. What are they? Permanent and impermanent. Very good. And permanent divided into? Permanent divided into 3. Wow, that's amazing. So over one night, things get rusted. Permanent divided into 3. Huh? Permanent divided into 2. Permanent divided into what are the 2? Huh? Oh, permanent not divided. Impermanent? 2. Oh, 3. What can I imagine if we are to next year? Next year is going to be totally gone. One night is gone. Okay, so impermanent divided into 3. What are they? Huh? Form, mind, and non-associated composite factor. These must be the fingertips. If you don't have these fingers, even if you said yes, we like to learn the technical days, you are not being honest. Okay. So now what we do is that we do to know this, how the Buddha interpreted his own teachings, that it became the third tenet of Dharma for Chittamatra, is that we need to know 2 sets. The first set of 3 and the second set of 4. You're getting it?
2 sets of what?
2 sets of the reality. So 2 sets of existence. The first set we call as the 3 natures. 3 natures. And the second is the class of the fourth, the set of form phenomena. Set of 4 phenomena. And the first one is the set of 3 natures. Okay, first let me enumerate the three natures. And then your next job is to correlate the two sets. You getting it? Which goes in which set? Which goes in which part of the which set? The set of 3 natures. Set of 3 natures, okay. Number 1 is imputed nature. Imputed nature. Number 2, other powered nature. So these are technicalities and very useful to learn something very concrete. What is number 1? Imputed nature. What is number 2? Other powered nature. Number 3, other powered. Powerful person. Other powered nature. Other. Okay, other powered nature. Number 3, thoroughly established nature. Thoroughly established nature. Thoroughly, Britishers would say thoroughly established nature. Americans would say thoroughly established nature. Right? Okay. The set of 3 natures. What is number 1? What is number 2? Other powered nature. What is number 3? Thoroughly established nature. Number 1, imputed nature. Number 2, other powered nature. Number 3, thoroughly established nature. Good. So now the set of the 4 phenomena. Set of the 4 divisions of the phenomena. Okay. Okay, let's say, instead of laying to be very technically correct, let's say set of four divisions of selflessness. This word selflessness, don't worry, I'll explain later. Selflessness here means existence, non-existence, all fall in this category. Selflessness here, in this context, it means what exists, what don't exist, they all fall in this category. Same, a set of four kinds of selflessness. Okay. So for this, it is your job. I will share with you, and then you have to pick up what the four are. What I will say is that I'll classify everything that comes to your mind. Everything that comes to your mind, whether exist or not exist, it doesn't matter. I will classify, and as I divide them, those things which I don't divide any further. You remember those points which I don't divide any further, right? These are points that you need to remember, and then finally I ask you, what are those things? Then you need to enumerate what they are. So what is your job? To identify the points which I don't divide any further. Repeat it. What is your job? Identify the divisions which I don't divide any further. You getting it? Okay, you have to remember those. Okay. First, anything that comes to your mind, exists or non-existence, can be classified into two: existence and non-existence. Do you agree with me? Anything that anybody can think of in this universe, right? Some people can fantasize themselves. Oh, say that I'm the Albert Einstein, right? You're not Einstein, but you think that I'm Einstein. And one time, one of the great teachers, Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdul, when he was on a teaching tour in America, this one gentleman, he found somebody there who looks very different with the, different dress, the monk's dress. And he was escorted by other monks. And he saw that the one in the center, is extremely calm, gentle. And this gentleman came and asked him, "Hey, you are a Buddha." And when he did not speak English. So he was extremely gentle and kind, beautiful smile. And then this gentleman said that, okay, after saying that you are a Buddha, he said, "I'm also Buddha," right? So all these fantasies can come. You're getting it? Anything that, is he Buddha or not? Most likely not. This person, right? So you can come up with all the fancy ideas, which are totally non-existent. Things can be there. So, do you agree with me that anything that comes to anybody's mind can be classified into two: what exists and what does not exist? You agree? Good. Remember what I asked you to do, the assignment that I give you. Then what exists, I'm going to divide further into permanent and impermanent. What exists should be either permanent or impermanent. Do you agree? Good. Now permanent, I'm going to divide further into two: ultimate reality and permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality. Okay, now I'm not going to divide any further. Okay, what's the assignment that I gave you? Anyone who remembers that? Raise hand, those who remember assignment that I gave you. The girl there. Okay, the girl there, you tell me.
What is unable to divide?
Okay, which I do not divide any further. Okay, now how many things are there which I do not divide any further? All? Four. Are you sure? Two. One. So now somebody says three, then everything's there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay, raise hands those who said 4. Raise hands. Raise hands those who said 2. Those who said 1. Maybe there's another person with 5. No? 6. No. Okay, tell me. Those who said listen to all of us, listen to them. Those who said 4, raise hands. Okay, the boy there. What are the 4? Let's listen to your name.
Ashwin.
Ashwin, tell me. What are the 4?
Non-existent,
Non-existent,
impermanent,
impermanent,
ultimate, permanent for ultimate reality, and permanent for non-ultimate.
ultimate reality, and then permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality. Very good. Smart. How many agree with Ashwin? Raise hands. Okay, more hands are coming up. Okay, yes, that's correct. There are 4. It's not 2, it's not 1. There are 4. I'm glad. Now this is not a complete. This is not the end of your job. What is your next job? Huh? Huh? Oh no, I do not tell this. Of course, it's your job to remember this, but this is implicit. It's not what I explicitly taught you.
To place them against the 3 natures.
Yes, I use the word to correlate, but a journalist gave a wonderful word to place them in the
Against the 3
against the 3 natures. Okay, so let us put the set of 4 against the 3 natures, right? Okay, the first one. What in the 4? The 4. What are the 4? Non-existence. Okay, first remember what these 4 are. Non-existence, impermanent phenomena, ultimate reality, permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality. 4. Then on the other hand, a set of 3. What are the 3 natures? Impure nature, other power nature, thoroughly established nature. Very good. Okay, so now we have to correlate the 2 by seeing which of the 4, which from the set of 4 goes into which of the set of the 3. You're getting it? What is the first in set of 4? Non-existence. Okay, non-existence. Let's keep it there. Don't delete it from your mind from the second set. Non-existence. What is next? Impermanent phenomena. Impermanent phenomena. The impermanent from the set of 4 and from the set of 3. Other power nature. What is number 2? Other power nature. Other power nature in the set of 3 and impermanent in the set of 4. These 2 are synonymous. So impermanent will go into the other power nature. Impermanent phenomena and other power nature. These 2 are synonymous. And I'll explain how. I'll explain what is meant by other power nature. Some of you may be wondering. Okay. So what is next? Ultimate reality. Okay, that's good. Ultimate reality from the set of 4 and the thoroughly established nature from the set of 3. These 2 are synonymous. Ultimate reality from the set of 4. From the set of 4 we have the one of which is the ultimate reality. And then from the set of 3, the thoroughly established nature. These 2 are synonymous. And again, don't worry. What is ultimate reality? Why is it known as thoroughly established nature? Okay, these 2 are synonymous. Now from the set of 4, how many are left? 2. What are they? Non-existence and permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality. So these 2 by default will go into impure nature. Very good. Okay, just now let me quickly explain what is impure nature, what is other power nature, what is thoroughly established nature. Let me explain these things, and then the interpretation will come. How the Buddha clarified his own teachings. Okay, what is first? Impure nature. So before we go into the impure nature, let me share with you 2 things. Okay. Say that you are very thirsty. And I raise this mug with the delicious water. And you're expecting that I'll give you this water. But I said that this water is mine. Right? This is my water. And you said that you are thirsty too. So I said, don't worry, I'll give you water. You're waiting. Imagine water. Not only water, imagine the juice. That's your water, that is your juice. Okay, which do you prefer? This water or your imagined juice? The real water, yes, this is what you prefer. Why? That has a substance there. The other imagined juice is? Imagined, imputed by your mind, imagined by your mind. You're getting it? So, things that exist, there are two kinds. One which has substance and one which does not have substance. Things that exist, there are two kinds. One which has substance and one which does not have substance. There are two things. Okay, one which has substance is known as other-powered nature. Why? One which has substance is known as other-powered nature. Other-powered nature and impermanent phenomena, these two are synonymous. Other-powered nature and impermanent phenomena, these two are synonymous. And why? With the substance is known as other-powered nature is this a substance which undergoes change. You're getting it? The substance here, this mug is made of atomic substance. And the atoms constantly, they are under constant flux of change. You agree with me? There's a constant flux of change there. So, what is made of substance, they always undergo change. So, therefore, they are impermanent phenomena. And the other-powered nature mean that they exist, these objects, with the substance, they exist by the power of other causes and conditions, other-powered. Impermanent phenomena, they exist by the power of other causes and conditions, other-powered. You're getting it? Other-powered nature. Okay, so from this what we learn is that impermanent phenomena, they are made of substance. And they come into existence by the power of other causes and conditions. Therefore, they are known as other-powered nature. Fine. Now, what is left? What is left? Thoroughly established nature. And permanent phenomena other than, what is left? Impermanent is gone. What is left? Non-existence left, which is imputed nature, and ultimate reality, which is thoroughly established nature, is left. Then permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality falls into imputed nature. These three are left. All these three say non-existence. Non-existence, of course, it is imputed. You understand it? Non-existence. It's just your imagination. For example, you say that, okay, I'm the Nobel laureate in physics. If I say this, and you will say that you have to go to mental hospital. You will tell me, right? If I say that I'm the Nobel laureate in physics, you might say that, okay, it's time for you to go to mental hospital. Right? Which means that you are just purely imagining, imputing, mentally imputed. Non-existence are mentally imputed. How many agree with me, raise hands? Non-existent, they don't really exist. They just come by your pure mental imputation. Raise hands? Good. Non-existence, they're imputed. That's good. Now, the permanent phenomena, there are two. One is ultimate reality, or the emptiness. Ultimate reality, that's ultimate. Ultimate has a connotation of thoroughly established. Right? It's a Mount Everest is the ultimate object there. Ultimate, the gigantic mountain there. Ultimate is so thoroughly established there. So ultimate has the connotation of thoroughly established. You agree with me? Does it make some sense? May not make 100% sense. It does make some sense, is good as of now. So thoroughly, the ultimate reality, does it make sense to you that it refers to as thoroughly established nature? Does it make some sense? If it makes some sense, it's okay for the time being. And then your job is to explore more. You're getting, what's left now? What is left now? Reasons. Yes. Permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality, right? Okay, this is a little complicated. permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality. Okay, permanent phenomena means which is not impermanent. Permanent phenomena means something which is not impermanent. Not impermanent means not substance. Impermanent and what is substance is to us synonymous. Right? Only something has substance, it has the ability to change. If there's no substance there, what can change? So impermanent phenomena has a connotation of something which is substance. Permanent phenomena is, by default, it means without substance. Right? Without substance to undergo change. So permanent is which does not undergo change. And the permanent has two. One is ultimate reality, that is thoroughly established. Right? Do you see a contrast between what is thoroughly established and what imagines by your mind? Right? What is imagined is very fluid. Right? You can imagine anything. But what is thoroughly established cannot be fluid. It is fixed. You agree? Does it make sense? Okay. So ultimate reality falls under the category of the thoroughly established, which cannot be, which cannot be fluid by thinking. So this is fixed, thoroughly established. So what is left? Permanent phenomena, which is not substance, which is also not ultimate reality. That is left. So that is purely imputed. Because it has no substance, it's not thoroughly established, so therefore it is mentally imputed. It's not from the substance, it's from the subject. You getting it? Yes.
Are memories imputed nature?
Okay, this is a good question. By the way, all of you, what was the question? What's the question? Your name? Lisa. Okay, what's the question Lisa asked? Memories, are they permanent phenomena or impermanent phenomena? Right? Okay, for this, before hurrying up to give the answer, you have to double check what is memory. What do you mean by memory? What does it mean by memory?
Something that has occurred that only through our mind do we remember.
Okay, memory is there's ambiguity there. This word is very ambiguous. Concept, view, these are very ambiguous. It's a connotation of the object, it's a connotation of the subject also. The concept in my mind is a subject. The concept of a concept of a stupa coming next to the gomba. Concept of stupa, right? Stupa coming, there's no stupa right there. So a concept of a stupa coming there, that's the object. The concept of stupa that is in my mind is the subject. So the same word, the same memory, what you remember, that's the object. What remembers, that's a subject. So memory has two connotations. You're getting it? Which one? Object or subject? You're not too sure. Okay, you remember something of the past. You remember something of the past in your mind. So you remember something of the past. It involves two things. What remembers and what is remembered. What is remembered is the object. What remembers is the subject. You're getting it? So if you relate to the subject, what remembers, there's a mind. Mind has a substance. It's not a physical substance, it is a mental substance. It is impermanent nature. Whereas they say, what do you remember of the past? The memory, the past memory as an object. Object, say, like memory of what? Your mother. Or yourself when you were 10 years old. 10 years old girl, Lisa. Right? So that girl is non-existent, but was existent. 10 years old girl, Lisa, was existent, was a human being, was impermanent. That girl changed to this big girl now. That's impermanent. Good? Good. Okay, more questions? Yes.
What is permanent and is this also established ultimate reality? Can you give an example?
Okay. Ultimate reality is something which we're going to study more. That's just the whole purpose of being here, the study of emptiness. Now, the permanent phenomena, right? Permanent phenomena. So first, before we go into the ultimate reality, let's say, what is permanent phenomena? Can you give some simple examples? This is very important. Very important. And it may revolutionize your thinking. Most likely, 99% of us here, we have never thought of this, a permanent phenomena. We've never thought of this. Yeah, I've been thinking about a permanent phenomenon. For example, I thought that I thought that I thought that let's say, the democracy is permanent. I thought that how the countries operate is permanent. No, with the change in the leadership, the whole operation changes. Right? So it's not permanent. So earlier we ever thought of things as permanent, but this is not the meaning of permanence. Oftentimes, most ordinary people, for them, permanent means, okay, how many agree with me? Permanent means something which lasts long or eternally, if possible. Resents. Be very honest. Resents. Okay. So the great master Acharya Dharmakirti, he made it very clear. Permanence has two connotations: how the ordinary people understand it, and how the scholars, the learned people, understand it. For the ordinary people, permanent means something which lasts for long, if possible, lasts eternally long. This is what is meant by permanence. But for the learned people, this is not the meaning. The meaning is very different. Meaning is extremely, profound. So, what's the opposite of permanence? Impermanent. Something which exists, but not as impermanent phenomenon that is permanent. Right? What is impermanent? What do you mean by impermanent phenomena? Something which changes. Something which changes. Okay, this is how we have to study philosophy. You're getting it? Study philosophy and study logic. Then you see that, although you may think that you are, I'm not really good in logic or study philosophy, but if you study like this, where you begin not from blind faith, but from reality. What's the opposite of permanence? Impermanence. That is so common sense. What is impermanence? Something which undergoes changes. It's so common sense. So this is how, if you go, then you really understand philosophy so profoundly, and you enjoy it, and it makes sense to you. Then it will bring about transformation in mind. Otherwise, you just learn something, a permanent. What's permanence? Absence, right? So and many of the NDC, NMC, they have this disease, absence, right? Carl, yes? Okay. No, I'm just joking. So this very profound concept. Point is that when we study philosophy and logic, whatever you say, whatever other person said, you must make sure that you understand it. If you don't understand it, don't feel hesitant to ask. In the process, you learn how to articulate your concepts. This is so important. So the question is, what is permanent? To know permanent, what do you know what is impermanent? Yes, impermanence is the opposite of permanence. What is impermanent? It simply means something which undergoes changes. Okay, so let's keep this flower. What do you mean by undergo changes? Let's keep this flower here for 10 days or for 20 days. What do you think? This flower will remain as fresh as it is, or it'll droop? Why drop? It's so fresh now. Why should it drop after 20 days? Why? Because it undergoes changes. You're getting it? This meaning of change, which means that now it has a deeper implication. That, okay, without me instructing the flower, now you have to change. The flower, there's something there from its own side to undergo change. Without giving any instruction to the flower undergoes change by itself. There must be some substance which undergoes changes. Yes? Yes. So only if there's a substance there to undergo change, then the change makes sense. There's a substance there which undergoes change, that makes sense. That makes sense. If it undergoes change, this means the impermanence. So where there's no substance, it cannot undergo change. If it does not undergo change, it is not impermanent. If it's not impermanent, it should be permanent. Permanent does not have to refer to what is lasting, forever, and so forth. Okay. So now, how many want to learn some examples of permanent phenomena? Good. Okay, before we wind this up, there's one girl there who wants to ask. What's your question? What's your name? Jyoti, yes. Infinite happiness. Infinity per se. No, my youth is not infinite. No, my youth is gone. No, there's no infinity in everything. Infinity in my youth, it doesn't exist. I want infinity in my youth.
I'm not talking about human beings, I'm talking about infinity as a concept. Is it permanent or impermanent?
Which concept?
Infinity.
Infinity of what?
Infinity of everything.
Not everything, no. Infinity of my youth is non-existent. Let's not be naive. Let's not be too vague. We should be very precise. Infinite of what? Don't just say everything. You getting it? Infinite of what? Which concept? Concept in your mind or outside your mind?
That everyone would think of as infinity as a concept collectively.
Okay, let's say that infinity, is it a time or not? It's not a time. Infinity.
It can be time, space, and infinite.
Okay, let's say something which is not a time. Tell me what infinity is there.
It can be infinite space.
Infinite space. Which space? This one. Where? Right above your head. You did like this.
The space that we exist in.
Which space? This space that we're seeing?
So if we talk like this, then everything.
Again, you are saying everything.
No, I'm saying
No, that's not true. You cannot generalize everything.
if we
Okay, we should be very precise. You're getting it? So,
talk about infinity,
say sometimes what happens is that we get some ideas. You call it concepts. Concepts, and we cannot articulate it. We have to learn how to articulate this. So I started to tell you eternity. What do you mean by eternity? Something which lasts forever. You getting it? Something which does not last for 1 year. You agree with me or not? 1 year is a time or not? 10 years is a time or not? 100 years time or not? 15 billion years of time or not? So then you stretch the time. You stretch the time where there's no border, there's no boundary. This don't say infinity. You're getting it? So if I ask you infinity, do you mean the time? If it is not time, then infinity doesn't make any sense. Because infinity, think of it again. This is my exercise, this is the assignment that I'm going to give you. Infinity, don't just keep it very vague. You're getting it? So I try to take you to infinity. For example, today, one day, is it infinity? You said no. You're getting it? You said no. 10 years, is it infinity? You said no. You're getting it? And then I started to, what did I do? I tried to stretch the time like this. And then I said what? Find what I said? 15 billion years, is this infinity? You said no. So you stretch further. You stretch further without the limit. Is that infinity? Yes. Your concepts must be very clear. You getting it? So infinity must be assigned with time. Without the time, it doesn't make it. Say, okay, one is time, and number two is a space. What exists is space and time. Space, for example, let's say the planet Earth. Planet Earth, then you go beyond the what is known as you go beyond. You go beyond the gravity of the planet Earth. You go beyond. To what extent you can go beyond? Infinity. Right? Endless. So this endlessness, you can ascribe it with time and with space. Physics talks about space and time. You're getting it? Physics talks about space and time. Then what else is there? Which is not space and not time? Mind. Mind is not space. Okay, well, mind is not space. As time in physics, time is the attribute of this space in physics. Now, physics do not account for the mind, but in reality, there's a mind there. So it's the physical world and the mental world. Mind is also there. So time is ascribed with respect to the space and the mind. Space, physical, and the mind. So this is time. Only with these two things that time makes sense. Time makes sense. Only with time the infinity makes sense. Same infinity in the horizontal way and vertical way. Vertical in time. You're getting it? So in other words, so first of all, infinity makes sense only with space and time and with mind. Does it make sense or not?
what about concept?
Concept is the same. Concept, let's say, concept, there's ambiguity there. Concept in the form of the subject, concept in the form of the object, there are two. Concept in the form of subject is your mind. Your mind. So mind is impermanent phenomena. And concept in the form of object, if it's not impermanent, it should be permanent phenomena. Permanent does not have a substance there. What does not have a substance does not have time. What does not have time, what doesn't have time, what doesn't have space, there's no infinity there. So infinity, we see that it is, so what exists, what truly exists is the space and your mind. And with these two things, then the times comes into play. The space and the mind. With the space, we can talk about the infinity. With the mind, you can talk about the infinity. And time, you can also talk about the infinity. So concept, so we said the four things, four classifications of the substances. What are they? Non-existence. It does not have infinity. What is next? Impermanent phenomena. Impermanent phenomena. Within that, we have impermanent phenomena. Within that, no. The division of impermanent phenomena. Form, physical form. Physical form is a form. Then the mind. And then what is next? Non-associated composite factors. So this is the benefit of learning these classifications. You're getting it? Say, keeping it vague, instead of keeping things vague, if you learn these classifications of what exists in the universe, this will be very helpful. Say, something which exists and which does not exist. Which does not exist does not have anything to do with eternity. Something which exists is of two kinds, permanent and impermanent. And impermanent phenomena, there are three kinds. What are they? Physical form, including the space. The space, we can talk about the infinity, but it's impermanent space. You're getting it? Then the mind. Mind also, we can talk about the infinite number of the minds. There's also there, but it's also impermanent phenomena. So in that sense, infinite in that sense, it is impermanent phenomena. Then what is next? Non-associated composite factors. So non-associated composite factors are the things which are nothing but composition of the mind and the physical body. For example, like the self, the person.
So, Geshe, do you mean like the I that we refer to?
I, the self. For example, like Chunyi La, Mr. Chunyi, who's a journalist. Journalist has a mind of journalism and has a hand to write things so fast. Right? Physical body, physical aspect, and a mental aspect. You're getting it? So it's composed of physical and a mental. That is known as a composition factor. And then you can also talk about time. Also it's known as a composition factor. Time is nothing but associated with the physical and the mind. These two. Right? So what is next? Then the ultimate reality, emptiness. Emptiness, it is what you call as, if you refer to that as the concept, emptiness is a concept. Concept meaning which is not impermanent phenomena, but what in this technical sense, it is a permanent phenomena. Permanent phenomena which does not have a substance there. So this concept, because that this is a pure abstract concept without being impermanent, it does not have the connotation of infinite. But if you want to say talk about the infinite in terms of number, or emptiness of the flower, emptiness of the person, like this, because there are infinite number of impermanent phenomena, you can ascribe infinite number of emptiness also. So in that sense, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, good. Here.
The only thing that after all of hearing all of this, and I've understood everything of all these impermanent things, is like the only permanent thing that I have in my mind is the change as a phenomenon itself.
Okay, the change itself, is it permanent, impermanent? I would say impermanent. But what is very important for us to know is what is permanent phenomena in simple terms. You're getting it? Some examples, what is permanent phenomena? This is something we have to learn It's already 11 o'clock. 7 minutes to 11 o'clock, and you have group discussion till 11:30. So, okay, what do you do is that we will do this. I know that there are so many people, they are just so, there's a sense of what? Urgency there to learn what is permanent phenomena. Okay, let's quickly do that, and don't worry about the next group discussion. Okay, we can, so it's only like half an hour. You cannot go to tea, get the tea, group discussion, no. So let's have another 10 minutes of what is permanent phenomena. Okay. Okay, by the way, I'm a little tired. How many of you are serious? If you're serious, I wouldn't mind, I'm tired. If it's not too serious, then don't leave. Raise hands. No. Raise hands who are very, very serious. Right? Okay, if you're very serious, I don't mind being tired. Okay, so what is permanent phenomena? So first of all, say impermanent phenomena is something which undergoes change. Don't forget it. Right? Now from this, what we learn is that what is permanent phenomena is a phenomena. It's a phenomena that exists which does not undergo change. You getting it? Good. Now, let's say that the okay, my question to you. Speak your mind. Don't speak your philosophy. Speak your mind. How many things are there in my left hand?
0.
Nothing. Okay, now how many things are there in my left hand? 1. Good. I can see that you're speaking your mind. Okay, don't change your mind. Right? What is that thing that is in my hand? Flower. Very good. Okay. Is this flower chocolate? No. So this flower is not a chocolate. Is there chocolate in my hand? No chocolate in my hand. So absence of chocolate is in my hand? Yes. Okay. So now I remove the flower. Absence of chocolate gone, not gone? It's not gone, it's still there. Okay. So what is in my left hand? Absence of chocolate. It's not nothing. It's something is there. You said nothing before. Now something is there. You're getting it? Oh, absence of chocolate is there. Absence of elephant is there? How many things are there? So many things are there, right? Absence of chocolate, absence of the elephant, absence of New York, absence of Manhattan, absence of Trump. Everything is there in my hand, right? Wow. There's so many things there. Okay. Now you go to a shop. And you say, I want to have a bread. And the person gives you a bread. And you say, how much is that? And he said that it's 10 rupees, or let's say 50 rupees. And then you say that, okay, here, this is the money. And you say, nothing's there, right? And you say, there's so many things there. Right? There's so many things there. And the shopkeeper, if he's busy, he'll say that, I have no time, please go to mental hospital. You're getting it? So now tell me, say the shopkeeper says there's nothing there, and you are saying there's so many things there. Where lies the difference? Is the shopkeeper wrong? No. Say that nothing's there? No. But you said that there's so many things there? Okay, are these two contradictory or not? In my left hand now, at 10:57, something is there in my hand and nothing is there in my hand. Are these two contradictory or not? This is not contradictory. 0 money, 10 rupees, $10, there's no contradictory. There's a contradiction there, of course. Something is there and nothing is there. These two contradictory. Right? I'm somebody, I'm nobody. These two contradictory. Right? This is contradictory. So how can you resolve this contradiction? Anyone? Anyone? Raise hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me. Okay.
The lack of chocolate, so you don't have a physical thing in your hand, but a concept.
But the shopkeeper doesn't say that you do not have any concepts there.
Exactly. The shopkeeper is saying you have nothing physical in your hand, and you're saying, I have lots of concepts in my hand, like the lack of chocolate.
Okay, you are saying that you have so many concepts in your hand. Okay, so what's your name?
Joe.
So did you follow what Joe said? Shopkeeper, when he's saying that there's nothing in your hand, which means there's no substance there in your hand. There's no substance there. Was the opposite of substance? Non-substance. There's no substance there. Whereas when you say that there's so many things there, you are including non-substance also. You're getting it? Concepts or the non-substance are there. So now, Jyoti, if you are saying, for you, the concepts, what you understood as concepts, if it's not that the concept in the form of the subject, in the form of the absence of substance, this is another possibility. Think of that. Concepts in the form of absence of substance. Or concept in the form of the mind, the subject. So here we see that the shopkeeper says there's nothing in your hand. Right? What he's saying is that there's no material, there's no substance in your hand. Whereas when you say there are so many things in my hand, you are saying that there's no substance there, but their non-substance existence are there also. Absence of chocolate is that, does it exist in my hand or not? It exists. It exists, but it is not a substance. You're getting it? It is not a substance. Okay, listen. If you don't listen, you will miss these points. These are so important points. Okay. So absence of chocolate in my hand does not have a substance. How do you know that it doesn't have a substance? This is distinction between the answer that you give, the answer the shopkeeper gives. Well, when the shopkeeper says there's nothing in your hand, which means there's no substance in your hand. That's what he meant. When you said there's so many things there, whether substance, non-substance, things are there. Non-substance are there. So for him, non-substance is not a thing. For him, substance means, no, thing means something which is substance. Okay. So what you counted as existent, which he counted as non-existent, they are all the non-substance things. Yes? Non-substance things. Given that there's no substance there, there's no substance to undergo change. So since it exists, but without change, it is not permanent. It is not impermanent. There's no change there. Because there's no change, it is not impermanent. What is not impermanent is permanent. So permanent doesn't mean something eternally lasting. You're getting it? Anything which does not undergo change is permanent. Okay, with this, having said this, permanent phenomena can be as short as 1 millisecond. You're getting it? A permanent phenomenon. Look, this is where the learned philosopher, the scholars understand of permanence will give you a beautiful, very profound understanding. Permanent may not be lasting forever. Permanent can be as brief as a split of a second. Okay, for example, just stretch your two hands and do what I'm doing. Tell me, what is the duration of this sound per clap? What's the duration? Quick.
A few milliseconds.
Let's say 1 millisecond. Let's say 1 millisecond. So this sound of clap, does it have chocolate? Hey, this sound of clap, does it have chocolate? Does it have chocolate? Does it have music? No music. No music. So this sound, the absence of the music of this sound, absence of music of this, the sound of clap, that absence does not have a substance. All absences, they have no substance. So that absence, because it does not have a substance, it is a reality, it exists, but it does not have a substance, it is not changing. Because it does not change, it is not impermanent. Because it is not impermanent, it exists and not impermanent, it should be permanent. And okay, let's say, the flower, the characteristics of this flower will last as long as the flower exists. You agree with me or not? Yes. The characteristics of this flower cannot last longer than this flower lasts. You agree? So, the characteristics of the sound of a clap cannot last longer than the sound of a clap. Right? So sound of a clap lasts for one millisecond, let's say 1 millisecond. And all the characteristics of this sound of a clap can last maximum 1 millisecond, including the absence of the music of this sound. Absence of music of the sound is how long does it last? 1 millisecond. And it is not permanent. It is not impermanent. It is permanent. So there's a permanent example of permanent which lasts just a millisecond, for a millisecond, for very briefly. You're getting it? This is extremely the important concept. This is permanent. So all absences are permanent phenomena, non-composite phenomena. Yet they may not exist, last forever. Permanent does not mean they lasting forever. In the conventional, ordinary sense, it means lasting forever. But in the understanding of the learned people, the scholars, it simply means something which exists that we're not having the quality of change. As simple as that. Okay, the lady there, what's your name? Lika, yes. Rika or Lika?
Rica, like Costa Rica.
Rica, yes, Costa Rica.
So for me, what still doesn't make sense is the difference between the permanent absence of chocolate in your hand and the non-existing juice.
Non-existing
The
Jew.
non-existing juice, we can also say it's the absence of the juice.
Of course.
That is existent, but we say things are non-existent and things are permanently existent in the absence.
Okay, so you mix up so many things. Not mixed up. In your mind, there are so many things happening. That's amazing. My mind does not multitask. According to Western science, right? So I follow them. Western psychology, my mind cannot do multitasking, and your mind is multitasking. So what I'm saying is that absence of juice, I said it exists. You're getting it? And you said that, what is absence of juice? It does not exist. We're saying absence, non-existence of juice. Juice does not exist in my hand. Absence of juice exists in my hand. You're getting it? Juice does not exist. Absence of juice exists in my hand. Or non-existence of the juice exists in my hand. Juice does not exist. Non-existence of the juice exists. What? First give an example. What? First you have to give the illustration. And then you say that this exists, not exists from your point of view. Are you correct from your point of view or from my point of view? So what I said is from my point of view. What you said is from anyone's point of view. This is very biased. Oh no. Whether I speak or not is true. Do you agree with me or not? Whether I speak or not, in my hand, in my empty hand, there's the absence of juice. Whether I speak or not, there's a reality. Yes, no. Even if I remain silent for 10 hours, sitting like this, all the 10 hours, absence of juice there in my hand. Whether I speak or not is a reality.
I'm saying, therefore, it doesn't matter if you speak of it or you don't speak of it, it is permanent, right?
The point is that it does exist. But the moment the juice comes, it disappears. It becomes non-existent. It is not permanent at all. The moment the juice comes in my hand, then the absence of juice in my hand becomes non-existent. It is not permanent. Simply because something does not exist doesn't mean it's permanent. You're getting it? You're getting it? Good. There.
The sound of one clapping hand, is that an example of clapping?
Sound of one hand, like this.
It's like a koan that I read.
No. Listen. Sound of one hand like this. There's also sound. There's one hand.
What if it's not clap, you don't clap yourself?
Then in the air. In the air, okay, no sound. So what?
Is that an
Sound of one clap, this is non-existent. Yes. And if somebody says it exists, the person is purely the poetic. Right? Okay, there.
What about an image of a flower that you're thinking of in your mind?
Okay, that's a good question. What's the image that comes to your mind of the flower? What's it that? Is that permanent, impermanent? Huh? It's a sort of a substance. It exists. Yes, mentally you can see that. It exists. But it doesn't exist as some substance. It is permanent. It can last very briefly. Yes.
So everything that has an imputed nature is permanent?
Okay. Everything which is not true, for example, like the tiger in this house, is not permanent.
The what?
Tiger in the house, in this house.
But no, but if it's imputed, that means...
Yes, it's imputed. I'm imputing. People who hallucinate, oh, there's a tiger there.
It doesn't change, right? Because
No, so what I said is the first qualification is that it should exist. And then it doesn't change. Two criteria should be fulfilled. Not only one.
imputed nature, which is not permanent, is just like made up, whereas the absence of chocolate actually exists.
Absence of chocolate in my hand.
Okay, yeah.
Not the absence of chocolate in the chocolate shop.
Okay.
Absence of chocolate in the chocolate shop is non-existent. Absence of chocolate in my hand is existent. Yes.
What about math? Mathematics, for example.
Oh, mathematics.
To stay forth.
So the mathematics, I would say, mathematics is a permanent phenomenon. Now that is easy for you. Yesterday, if I say permanent, something lasts forever. Say 0.3 million years ago, Homo sapiens non-existent. At that point, mathematics was not developed. So how can it be permanent? Now you understand. Things can be permanent, which may not last long, right? So mathematics, I would say, is permanent. Yes?
What about the absence of a melting ice cube in your hand?
That is permanent.
The melting ice cube is changing.
No. Melting ice cube, there's no melting ice cubes in the first place. How can it change? So absence of melting ice cube in my hand, that is permanent.
So something that has born will die one day. So death as a phenomenon is permanent.
So death, the process of dying or the absence of the person at that point. The process of dying is yet to die. So death, the person already departed.
So death will come for you, it will come for everyone. So as a phenomenon.
So this is what I'm saying. What precisely what you mean by that death is that the termination of the person, that is permanent. But according to Prasangika, this is very interesting. I don't want to go into that philosophy now. Prasangika, which is highest Madhyamika philosophy. You getting it? So there, the death is treated as impermanent. But the other schools, I don't want to go into complication. That requires, first of all, you have to understand emptiness. If you don't understand emptiness, you cannot go there. But the death, which means the cessation of your life, that is permanent in the context of other schools, other Buddhist schools. Yes?
Law of cause and effect.
Oh, interesting. Law of cause and effect. Cause and effect. Cause and effect, it is impermanent. Because cause and effect necessarily is associated with the number one change associated with primarily with with the physical and the mental. Impermanent.
What about soul? Soul has no substance, but it's always in the process of changing based on personal thought.
What about the soul? Okay, let's say we don't really talk too much about the soul in Buddhism. It's more about your consciousness, which travels from one life to the other. Your consciousness or the mind. Mind should necessarily fall under impermanent phenomena. If you remember, impermanent phenomena classified into three groups: form, mind, and non-associated composition factors. Right? Good? Yes.
So I'm just confused about how, because we're thinking of these objects, we're thinking of these absences of objects. Isn't that our mind creating these experiences?
Exactly. So absence of the chocolate. Absence of chocolate, there's no substance there. If it exists, how does it exist? It exists from the object or from the subject? It's from the subject. Therefore, it is known as imputed phenomena. Imputed.
So it's not ultimate reality.
Of course it is not.
Something is not ultimate reality.
Absence of not all. Absence of objective existence is ultimate reality. Absence of chocolate is not ultimate reality. What's your country?
US.
US. Okay, absence of Dorji in US is not ultimate reality. It's very easy. Ultimate reality is very difficult to understand. Yes.
A law of karma, would it be ultimate reality or from the
Okay, different question, but the illustration is same. Law of karma is the ultimate reality, it is not ultimate reality, right? And how? So, in the course of this understanding what emptiness is, ultimate reality, you must get the understanding as to how law of karma is not ultimate reality. You're getting it? And if you don't get it, you have to ask this in the class. How the law of karma is not ultimate reality. You getting it? If you get the answer, if you don't ask me, I'll take for granted that you understood it. Yes. Yes, there's a girl there.
What about dates? Like 2nd in July 2010.
Oh, that's interesting. What are the dates? Date. Is it time or not? July, is it time or not? July, is it a span of like 30 days, 31 days?
Yeah.
July has how many days? 31 days. Well, how many of you know that July has 31 days? Raise hands. Well, how many of you are not too sure? You have to go through this knuckle. Right? 30 days of September, April, June, November, all the rest of 31, except what? Leap year 41, something. Okay. So either you recite it or you have to go to your knuckles, right? Which means you are not too sure. Okay. So July, is it a month? Month.
Yeah, but it's like specific.
Specific what?
2nd in July 2010.
2nd July. 2nd July, is it a day or not?
It is.
It is day. One day has 24 hours. 24 hours. 24 hours is time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's time. Time is impermanent. Good. Yes?
Are realizations or the removal of obscurations permanent?
Okay, so there are two things. Our realizations.
I'm thinking...
Your realization and my realization.
I feel like my realizations come and go, but like if you're close to Buddhahood, like they say that, like you have once returns, etc.
If you say, our realization, including me, my realization non-existent. Non-existent, my realization exists.
Are they permanent?
My realization, it is not permanent. It's non-existent. The absence of my realization, it exists, it is permanent.
So when someone gets to Buddhahood, the literature suggests that they can't reverse those realizations. They get to a point when they don't have afflictions. So that removal of afflictions is permanent?
Removal?
Yeah.
Removal, the cessation? Removal means cessation of afflictions.
Yeah.
Cessation of afflictions is always permanent. Cessation meaning absence. Absence of afflictions. So for example, at the moment, I don't think anybody is angry. Or you must be, I miss my tea. Right? Then you may be a little upset. Otherwise, if you're engrossed with this, then you're not angry. Right? So there's absence of anger within you now. This absence of anger and the Buddha's absence of anger, these two are different. Buddha's absence of anger is by the power of the antidote. Our absence of anger is because of our involvement in the discussion. Right? Not by the power of the antidote. So this anger can arise again. Whereas the Buddha, absence of the anger in the Buddha's mind, that is by the power of the antidote, it never arises again. So that is known as the cessation. Cessation. And there's also a form of absence of anger. Any absences should necessarily be permanent phenomena. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, one last question.
To tie it back to resolving the contradictions in the two two wheels of the Dharma. Are you saying that the second one, the emptiness of objective existence, is ultimate reality, and the first one, the Four Noble Truths, are permanent phenomena other than ultimate reality?
Okay, so this is a good question. Thank you. Your name?
Chris.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much. In fact, we have to go back to the main point from where all these digress. Digress at the same time, very important digression, right? We have to go back to this. So we'll come back at 11:30. You have another 12 minutes for tea. We'll come back.